It was done at the Youth Study Center. And at the Youth Study Center, I was interested in recidivism. That is the tendency on the part of juvenile delinquents to repeat criminal behavior. What I learned is that of all the variables, the one that stood out more than anything else was the inability of these youngsters to read. The inability to read, that stood out more than anything else. I don't care what variables I looked at for my doctoral dissertation at Temple University. The inability to read, and that's the thing that we have to emphasize, the ability to read. If the person is successful in reading, the chances are he rides piggyback on that and it goes on and up and up. So if you say you want to get rid of the shame, well, here's where you get rid of the shame. You have the person learn how to be a success. And if I'm a success in the same way you do with a child, when one child said, well, I can tie my shoes, can you tie your shoes? And if I feel as if as a little fellow I can tie my shoes, then I feel good by that achievement that I can tie my shoes. The shame part comes in when the person begins to say, I feel badly about what I've done. But you haven't done anything wrong. If there's emotional stress, it's not a result of I'm a no goodness, or I'm a baddie, or I'm a failure. That's not the answer. The answer is, once that's there, what do you do about it? Do you take your lemons, or do you make lemonade?
Well, Dr. Vaughn, I think one of the things that troubles me, and it is a concern, is that we live in an environment where we don't tend to nurture one another.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, we tend, and actually maybe I'm making that too broad of a statement. I'll put it this way. We live in an environment where there's not enough nurturing going on.
Exactly.
And so to the degree, like you said, that the person who can't tie his shoe, and he asks everybody, I can tie my shoe, can you? And then everybody else who can look at the person and say, well, it's something, as opposed to saying, well, look, why can't you tie your shoe? Let me help you tie your shoe. Let us all work with you so that we all can tie our shoes. And to a degree, that's the community. I mean, I mean, when we talk about how, you know, us older people always like to talk about, well, how this used to happen, how we used to do this, how this used to happen. But that was community. I mean, when everybody was concerned about your child, that was community. Right. So the whole idea now is that that young people living such an environment. Now, I was listening to a piece the other day on TV, and they was and their angle at how we get back to family was cooking, was at the dinner table. Is that people need to learn how to cook now so that they can now sit at the dinner table again and begin to talk and understand one another through cooking. So I mean, all these things that we used to do, the piece I saw the other night, they said, well, these young people now, they don't have McDonald's, they call McDonald's a McMom, because that's who buys the food.
And that's
Thankfulness, because the purpose of today is to erase the shame and mental illness.
Right.
So if you had some advice for people, like what would you tell them about mental illness and how to deal with it and how to just talk to somebody to get some help? Like if you don't get the support at home or you don't know where to go, like she has to go way out Norristown to find support. So like, what would be something that you would suggest to people?
You're just doing it right now. You're doing it at this moment. You talk to friends, you get the word out, you communicate. What you do is share. The important thing that many people fail to realize is that they hug it. You don't hug it. You let it go.
I'm hearing too, like why now is it coming out against each other? You know, like she talked about the bad manners, the anger, and the rage. I don't even think it's anger. I think it's like black rage.
It's self-hate and the depression. I hate myself and I'm depressed, so I'm going to make you miserable because I'm sad. Okay, okay,
Like,
so I'm gonna do it to you.
So-
Community, do you have any feelings on that, and, you know, how to deal with that, or how you deal with that, or?
Basically, well, the living conditions, you know, it keep a lot of people depressed, because a lot of people don't have homes. You know, they don't know where their next meal's coming from. Then you like have your girls just out here tricking, you know, for whatever reasons. You know, a lot of them is not happy with what they doing. You know, so it's mainly, it's an economic and economic in the area that you in that can bring you down.
And how do you feel about, like, because we're also discussing the shamefulness of depression in the Black community.
I'm gonna be honest. They told me I was depressed. I asked them, what you mean? You know, and it took me a long while because by me not really talking a lot, she had me start journaling. And my therapist would read what I wrote, and she would pick out certain points and say, well, why do you feel like this? And she said, that's when she, you know, it started coming to me that maybe she got something here. You know, she would show me where I had went, you know, when I was feeling down, certain things I wrote, and the difference in between it. So now, a lot of times I can recognize when I'm getting really depressed.
Okay. Now, do you discuss that with your family? Have you discussed your depression or issues surrounding your depression with your family?
Well, I believe depression is hereditary. A lot of people, they say it's not, but I believe it is. Because I'm depressed, and I had 4 kids when I'm died. But all my kids are depressed. All my kids are on antidepressants.
So do you talk to your kids about their depression?
Yes. You know, I don't hide anything from them as far as my health and stuff. And they don't hide from me. So we sometimes, like if they get a medication change, Mom, you ever heard of this medicine?
Okay.
You know, we'll discuss the different ways that it affects us and stuff.
Okay, and sir, how are you?
All right.
What are your feelings about what we're discussing?
With depression, I had depression. When people had like died in my family, when we dealing with my medical issues, my medical, what I have now. But you know, I try to deal with it. It's hard, especially if somebody that's not in your shoes. They don't know what it feel like being there, especially if you're infected with something. Because I'm infected with something. I went in a box, and I said, oh, people wouldn't like me because I have my status HIV, or they don't like me. They wouldn't nobody. It's hard to find a mate because they don't like me. And as I went along, somebody said, well, there's somebody out there for you. There's somebody out there for you. So I wasn't ashamed like I did with a girl. I told her she wanted me to go get tested. I knew my status,
Right.
but she wanted to get closer to me. You want to get closer to me? I go in there. I walked out. She got tested again. So when she got tested again, I said, can you handle my status? She told, oh yeah, she can handle it. And every time I said, we talk.
And that is a